Hello, my name is Alun. Today I am facilitating another session in our longish series of Fate of the Quadrant. This is my Fate hack inspired by Modiphius' Star Trek Adventures. You want to hear any more about the setup and everything else, go back, look at one of the earlier editions. All I will say is that we are playing as part of the Open Hearth Gaming Community's monthly calendar. We're playing with safety tools and within the community's code of conduct. All of these players have played with me and with it a lot, so we know that we know where we stand. I'm not going to do introductions. I'm going to launch straight into the action. Because what I'd like to do is to go to each player in turn and just ask you about our well, not new member of crew, because he can't just have appeared, on board. He must have joined, a couple of weeks ago at Outpost Gamma 7. But this is Dr. Hugo Sharp. And so what I want to do is to just run through Hugo's previous career events and consider whether any of the other players think that that's the basis for establishing some relationship aspect with Hugo. Because I am conscious that we've lost our number one, who was the advanced emergency medical hologram. So you may have some aspects linked to the old EMH that you may want to reallocate. So let's look down on row 61, which is where career events are. Career event 1 for Hugo, ship destroyed. What was the ship's mission? And when Anders and I roughed out Hugo, we came up with relief mission for Bajopran refugees. Is that still you're still content with that, Anders?
Yeah, unless there's a reason to adjust it to fit better with someone else.
It fits perfectly with the timescale, because the suggestion here is that was it something routine that went horribly wrong, or was it something perilous? Well, it was destroyed by the Cardassians. So this places us probably 3, 4, 5 years ago, before the armistice, when the Cardassian border wars were in full flow. What destroyed the ship? Cardassians. How many survivors were there? Now, we didn't talk about this. I mean, you survived. What were the survive? How many people survived?
That's a good question. I think a fair number. I'm not sure. It could be interesting that this was like a major disaster, but it could also be interesting that it was more of something that happened, but that wasn't catastrophic. I'm not sure what's more interesting there.
I mean, one of many, conceivably, at that time.
Yeah.
Is it perhaps interesting for it to be that the Cardassians spared the Starfleet crew but ensured that the relief supplies were destroyed? That the Bajorans were starved, and that like, not to start a war with Starfleet, but to say that the Bajorans don't get anything, you can't aid.
Anders, what are you thinking?
That's interesting. Yeah, I think. Yeah, I kind of like that. I'm not sure. Would it be reasonable that there was kind of a standoff? The Federation ship decided to, like, no, we're going to ignore the Cardassians. We're going to forge ahead, and then it turned into an actual fight.
Oh, now that's quite nice. The idea that you were escorting this Bajoran refugee ship, and the Cardassians intervened to say, we don't want to argue with you, Starfleet, but we're going to board this civilian ship, and then it escalates from there.
Yeah.
Okay, so Cardassians.
I don't have any aspects with the MH, but I did create that quick character of Lieutenant Risa Day, who is a Bajoran refugee, which seems to tie nicely with Hugo Strong. Sorry, Hugo Strong is a Batman villain, I think. yeah, no, Hugo Strange is the Batman villain. There we go.
Right.
But yeah,
So what I've got is
I could-
Cardassians aim to separate the Bajoran vessel from the Starfleet escort, who confronted the Cardassians. ... and lost ... So sorry, I interrupted, Will.
Well, I'm just thinking I do have a free aspect on Lieutenant Risa Day, and I think it would be neat to try and tie that into that incident, right? So I'm crap at writing aspects, I've discovered. I find it hard to phrase them in the right way, but what would be an interesting one for that, I think, to say about Hugo saved my life, or Hugo Starfleet tries even if it doesn't succeed, or I don't know.
Tries if it doesn't succeed is quite a neat one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let me just add then down here that Lieutenant Aday was aboard the refugee ship or your ship, Hugo?
Sorry, who was this character we were talking about now?
Will, can you guide?
Column DF. So one of the supporting characters, because basically, you can flesh out the rest of the crew by just creating a new member of the crew, essentially.
Right.
And I am playing both pilots off the ship, the co-pilot and the pilot. So she's very similar to my main character, but she's a combative Bajoran pilot who was a refugee. And that is actually who I'm playing for this session, probably. But yeah, if you were escorting a refugee, I would maybe say that, like, she was well, whichever you prefer, but perhaps she was on that she was a refugee, and that's when she joined Starfleet, was because of the the incident. Yeah,
that's interesting. Yeah, I think maybe we took. Oh, so maybe like this: a Bajoran ship with refugees. The Cardassians want to stop them. Starfleet says, no, we're going to continue escorting them. While this standoff is going on, maybe we transfer some of the Bajorans onto the Federation ship in order to protect them better. And that was like the plan to get them out, but things escalate before everyone is transferred over.
yeah.
And she was one of those who
yeah, well, I think maybe I'd like to pin that aspect down as Starfleet tries no matter the odds, right?
Ooh,
like,
yeah, that's good.
And that's when she was like, right, Starfleet's trying its hardest. I'll join Starfleet and become an ace pilot.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, do you ever get anything with ace pilots in games? They're always ace pilots, aren't they, I suppose? But yeah.
So relief mission for Bajoran refugees. Cardassian aim to separate the Bajoran vessel from the Starfleet escort who confronted the Cardassians after transporting some refugees to the Starfleet ship. When the Cardassians destroyed the ship, AD and Hugo were in the same escape pod.
Yeah, that sounds good to me.
Yeah? Okay. Second event, dealing with a plague. What was so previous work in research, but this was the first direct contact with patients at scale. Sent to study the disease, but had to respond to the crisis. What do we think?
I would like it if we could frame up, since I have this whole sort of, it was part of my contact with the EMH, is this whole idea of the inorganic life forms. And maybe this was a plague that had an inorganic life form component to it, that my bedside manner about things might if I had been on the same mission, might have been a little bit problematic in that I was very much more concentrating on studying this life form rather than curing the disease. That or at least that may be how Hugo perceived it. And something like that.
Yeah, I like that.
So what I've done is to flesh out how to respond to the crisis involving an inorganic or nanite life form. Yeah.
Nice.
So how does that tweak that Rusu-Kinix aspect, or does it still apply just from a different place or a multiple place?
Well, I'm going to take my relationship aspect and I'm going to say that that maybe part, I mean, despite Hugo's age, I think does it seem reasonable that Hugo might have rebuked me or kind of called me out for that attitude? And that was a life lesson about I'm going to say it's I know my obsessions can get in the way.
Yeah, works for me.
Be both positive and negative there.
Maybe just my obsessions can get in the way.
Well, I want to keep it more pot. Well, and I guess if I lean into my obsessions to do something, yeah, we can play it that way. Yeah,
I mean that works. I know my obsessions can get in the way, because you do.
Yeah,
we've seen Koenig.
I could actually put that as I know in parentheses my obsessions can get in the way, to kind of play that in two versions.
Now, does any of that help you, Hugo, or Anders on behalf of Hugo, phrase any relationship aspects of your own?
Yeah. So, Koenig is the science of, yeah. I feel like that should be should have something there, but I'd like to talk to Paul a bit as well about your ex-Borg, freed Borg. Sorry, yeah.
Yeah.
I think maybe do we want some kind of connection between the Borg and this inorganic plague component, or do we want to keep those separate?
Do whatever you want. I will not change my aspect, so you can go ahead and if you want to use it to create an aspect for you, that is fine. You can do. I have no opposition at all to that. Go ahead, and if you want some anti-Borg aspect, smack it out of the park. That is perfectly fine.
Yeah, that's not what I was angling for. This was more like a general question, if we want to tie those together or if we want to leave them as separate things. But I think
I mean, I've just tinkered that now it says crisis involving inorganic life form resembling Borg nanites.
That's cool.
Yeah, so I'm very happy for you to bind those together.
Yeah.
Particularly where we are in the narrative.
Just to put it out there for Anders' sake, we have previously touched upon the idea that Starfleet is looking for weapons against the Borg, methods, countermeasures for Borg, kind of like, because we're in the wake of the big disaster, right? And I believe Paul has an aspect or a stunt, I can't remember which, that involves like the Borg nanites being reactivated, right? So it could be an interesting one to have in play. Is that in some way related to, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, in that case, I'd like to tie it in. I think, I'd like to make it not like a, maybe it's not prejudice as such. Maybe it's more like an instinctive reaction. Like he saw these people who were who had horrible reactions to this nanite plague, and he's seeing similarities. It's more like on a gut feeling level than I don't like you because you're Borg. It's more like seeing this semi-mechanical cyborg person that's so obviously similar may cause some sort of reaction, and then we could generalize that to something broader.
Cyborgs make me nervous.
Yeah,
to keep it general enough to not just be Borg.
Yeah. Let's go with that. Maybe
this melding of organic and inorganic makes you uncomfortable. That kind of thing.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, let's go with visible cybernetics, something like that.
Visible make me nervous. Yeah, that works. Particularly as we have a captain with a cybernetic eye and at least one limb that's a replacement. So yeah, that's going to work beautifully. Thank you. And what about building on the destroyed ship? Anything that you think? Because I'm just running across what we've got for everybody else. We've got
People under fire. Instantly, always you can activate that aspect pretty much whenever you feel like it. It's a great aspect. Cool under fire. There you go. Yeah, I look at this game a lot different from other people. I look at it very mechanically. Aspects of things you if you want to spend a fate point, you got to have something you can spend it on. Cool under fire is a great one.
Yeah, Paul plays fate like a Borg. Resistance is futile.
But this should be like a relationship thing, or how much is it about the relationship?
You're on a ship that was coming apart. It was under attack. You got off because you were cool under pressure. Everybody else flapped. You got off. You're cool under pressure.
Can I just to make it more of a relationship one rather than the characteristic? What about when the team's calm, the team succeeds? Because there's that same essence of but it's more of a group exercise.
I'm not sure if I want to go with calm, but maybe something about working in a crisis. I think like something like everyone has to do all they can in a crisis. Something in that direction.
A ship is like the emergency room in a crisis.
Ooh, yeah, that's good.
Because that binds together, or the
ship is my ER.
I kind of almost want to use that instead of the fascinated by other cultures, because that one kind of overlaps with curious about the universe, but maybe not.
That is true, yeah. I have to say, curious about the universe, I took to be the way the universe works rather than cultures, the more social side of that, if I'm honest.
Yeah. Let's keep that as it is. And someone had a good wording for this new one, and it dropped out of my mind.
I think I said something like a good ship is like an ER in a crisis.
Yeah,
which talks to the teamness. And Paul would like an individual, you're cool, but it is the capacity of a group to stay cool under pressure that matters in the context of a ship. Yeah, there you go. In a crisis, a good ship works like an ER. Does that? And you know, we can tweak these. You know, I mean, I don't think anybody has much tweaked their aspects, but they're very welcome to. So I think then this is our chief medical officer. What I want to start then is with now we've got that bit of housekeeping out of the way. I'd like to start with. I think this time we start with scenes aboard ship. So, you know, it's those corridor scenes. It's people moving about their business, you know, in all the colors that we know. And then there's a kind of, you know, that kind of noise that heralds a hail. And it says, this is Captain Prell speaking. I'm going to read in full a Priority 1 message I have just received from Starfleet Command. Message begins. The USS Voyager is currently 15 days overdue following a mission in search of Maquis insurgents believed to be in hiding in the Badlands. All ships are to report any evidence of the Voyager's current location or fate. There should be no contact with the next of kin of Voyager crew pending confirmation of their loss. And I mean, how does that, Paul? What do we see in those scenes on the corridor when that comes over to suggest the impact this has on the crew?
I think it's that sort of stop, you know, to hear it, and then they don't just carry on. There's some contemplation, and then you get that sort of talk about, you know, oh, I knew so and so from Voyager, etc., and all, you know, how you're bearing up, etc.
And then he rolls straight on to message ends. While you're listening, and importantly, be aware that the Aeroshuttle Bay is off limits to any but essential flight and maintenance crew, and that the returning Aeroshuttle is off limits to everyone but the command crew. Captain Prell out. And then I think we'll have that little montage of previously on. So what I'm interested in, I think, is something from Vassal relating to our Bajopran visitors, something from Koenig in relation to the Tzenkethi on the planet, and something from 733T in relation to the scenes that involved those Borg on the moon. Yeah. So I think probably that's probably the running order. So Vassal, can you give us a previously on that somehow just gives a feel for the Bajorans on board, the dissidents?
Yeah, it is the Videk, the Bajoran leader, faith leader, slamming his fist down on the table and saying, "These Tzenkethi savages claiming the land Starfleet is interfering once more. It's obstructing our holy mission to keep the true way of the prophets here on this planet." And Vassal, you know, slamming his own fist down on the table and saying, you know, your people are at risk here. Starfleet can't stand by and watch the Tzenkethi are stranded there alone, and you need our help here. We're not leaving until we're not leaving you on this planet until everything's sorted. And the Videk storming out of the room, you know, to go back to his people and slander us, basically.
I think that's great. That established that there's this frictional relationship between these religious dissidents that you're transporting, and that there are Tzenkethi down there who are an obstacle. Koenig, give me some sense of either the contact you had with the Tzenkethi or something that we can know about them.
I think it's two bits that play off of that, where we see the Tzenkethi and our landing team, and the Tzenkethi saying, "This is our planet. We have taken control of it. You know, this is our colony. All this," and then there's the bit of gunfire and quick transport out, and then we kind of cut to the ship, and Koenig going over the diagnostics, the scans, and going, Captain, I don't think the Tzenkethi landed there. I think they crash landed there. Something happened to their ship. They're not colonists. And they've called for help.
Thank you. And finally, Paul, 733T, just give me something that will explain why the captain has now put the Aeroshuttle Bay off limits.
I think it will be a personal log entry for 733T. And basically, we're looking at the shutdown Borg. And it's like pondering if the Borg reactivate and make it off the shuttle and try to assimilate the rest of the crew. This must be stopped, and as such, it is my duty as chief engineering officer to prepare a doomsday device to stop this happening.
Oh my, okay. So then I think it's the Captain Hale's sick bay. What is Hugo doing? This is the first time we've seen Hugo. He looks like, he's the youngest person in sick bay. But what is Hugo doing that gives us some sense of the character just from this opening look?
I think before we get to sick bay, we've seen him like walking around the corridors of the ship with like his container of personal possessions and trying to find his living quarters. So now he's apparently found that. He's kind of rushing into med bay. He's a bit late to his shift because he had trouble finding his place, and now he's looking around trying to figure out who everyone is and what's going on, and like he's there to take charge kind of, but not sure of what the situation.
And we've not talked about what's happened to our more advanced DMH. I think that we have to assume that the Doctor we knew from the opening episodes of this series has been transferred everywhere, somewhere else, and we have a standard EMH running in sickbay. And I think that standard EMH turns around and says, "Who are you?"
I'm Lieutenant Sharp. I'm the new chief medical officer.
Well, that's a relief. I've been run off my feet. And he blinks out. And then over the intercom comes to sickbay. This is Captain Prell. Dr. Sharp, to the Aeroshuttle Bay, please.
Yes, right away, Captain.
As I remember, 733T led the away team down to the moon. Koenig did. I beg your pardon.
Right.
Beg your pardon.
With 733T.
With 733T. And pilot Lieutenant Ade to take it down. So you are on board the Aeroshuttle. The captain has allowed you to dock, but required you to stay in place. And the way that 733T, remind us, how did you convince these Borg, that 7 Borg, I think, to come aboard?
That we have superior communications equipment to what they were attempting to build. So that was the snag that got them into Koenig's Faraday cage.
Where they are cut off from the collective and kind of confused. So they are a mini collective as we speak inside that Faraday cage. Koenig, what's the plan?
I'll say 733T. I want you to remain on board for the moment. I'm going to go and see about getting an extra back power connector to the ship so that we can maintain this Faraday cage without any possible interruptions. And I'll turn to the pilot and I will say, what's her name again?
Risa Ade, Lieutenant Ade.
Lieutenant, I know the captain has sent for the medical officer. Go to the entryway of the shuttle bay and prepare to brief our new CMO when they arrive about what's going on here, okay?
Yes, sir. This is the most dangerous cargo I've ever transported.
I hope it will remain that. Oh, I don't know what exactly I meant to say there, but I have to go. And I'm hopping out to find the junction conduits, and in particular, I'm also shutting down any connection access, computer wise, general connection wise, that is soft here. I'm shutting down all the panels and things so that if they do come out and start to assimilate, it will take them more time.
Okay,
and then
then
I'm going to get the shuttle hooked up, and I'm going to try and do this with 733T's assistance, like over comms.
So this sounds like create an advantage, isolate the Aeroshuttle.
Yes.
Yeah. So I think this is engineering rather than science.
Absolutely.
So, and I think the difficulty, I don't think this is difficult at all. I think the difficulty is 3.
Okay. And I will want passive assistance from Paul.
Exactly.
So my engineering is a 3.
Plus 733T means it's 4.
It's 4 effectively. Let me check one thing. Where's that at? Oh, we hit our stunts.
Oh, we did. Sorry.
Let's back up here just in case. Okay. So -3.
Ouch.
+1. Let's say +1. Let's just go ahead and make it 6. Hang on. What's the possible consequence for that? I'm at a +1 right now. Is that a tie?
So you're at +1. Difficulty is 3.
Okay.
So you're at -2. So you're on fail, which is the GM says how things get complicated or succeed, but they get a free invoke on a possibly changed aspect, which might be apparently isolated Aeroshuttle.
What's the effect of a tie on creative image?
Tie would be fail, but you do get a boost.
Okay, I'll take the boost then. I'm going to spend my reduce any problem to its pieces. So I'm taking some pieces away from them. I'm happy with that and not take the fail.
Okay. I've put boost to isolate the Aeroshuttle. Yeah. 733T. One of the reasons that they went for your ploy was that they related to you. They recognized your communication as a Borg. And I'm just wondering, 733T is not the way that so far in Star Trek we've seen Borg named. What's special about you that means that you have that different designation and it made you more likely to be able to convince these, what we might describe as bog standard Borg?
Because 733T is a Borg sapper, and they're designed to operate quite independently from other Borg. So they have instead of something, they have a more of a unique designation.
So, I like that. Okay. So a Borg engineering specialist. Ade, you do, I assume, what Koenig says. You go to the lock to the ship from the Aeroshuttle Bay, where Dr. Sharp arrives. What's that conversation like?
I think Ade's fiddling with her phaser when she's nervously checking the door. She's looking over her shoulder. She's checking her phaser power pack, and then she jumps as the door swishes open and sees Hugo. And she goes, Hugo, and grabs him by the thing and pulls him in and slams the door. And you see the red light come down and the lock go down. And she goes, listen, I don't know if they briefed you, but we've got 20 Borg back there. This is crazy.
What? Borg? On the ship?
On the ship, yeah. I mean, we 733T, I mean, we managed to trick them on board, and I don't know. I've heard of, they got Picard, Captain Picard back and 733T, but I gotta say, Sharp, that everyone's counting on you to make these people again, and not just part of just drones. Or I think it's crazy.
Well, this is certainly one hell of a first day on the ship, but well, okay, no pressure. Good to see you, by the way.
Yeah. I mean, hopefully our first day serving together isn't our last, right? But anyway, I'm sure we'll make great members of the collective together when they assimilate all of us.
Well, that should go together, I guess.
Yeah. You brought your phaser, right?
No, I did not expect to need that on board the ship.
And she rolls her eyes and says, "You are always too trusting," and slips her phaser into your belt.
733T, what you're on board the shuttle while all this is going on. And there's quite a cargo space at the back of the Aeroshuttle, where you can observe through the door between you and them. You can observe them, and Enoch, I think that this Faraday cage, it wasn't a physical Faraday cage, was it? Or did you power up the hull to make it a Faraday cage in effect?
Just powering up the hull.
Yeah, right. So 733, the Borg are quiescent, but clearly looking at their surroundings. You've separated them from the collective, but they are not they're not switched off. They're adapting to the situation that they're in. What, if anything, do you do or want to think or whatever?
I want to try and identify the most inquisitive out of the bunch.
Okay. I think that's probably, let's have you roll to ask a question then, to use the ask action. I think difficulty is 3, and I think it's probably insight.
I would agree. Smash it out of the park.
So how many in total?
I'm +4 on the dice. I'm -1, so I'm +3 over.
Success with style. So I will answer your question. Yes, one of them is. I think I will probably call them 1 of 8. And clearly is more interested in their surroundings. Now you can ask 2 follow-up questions on the basis of success with style, and get a boost out of these answers if you want it.
I will hold the questions until the specialists get here.
Well, that would seem like a good time for Dr. Sharp to arrive. Now, Sharp, your experience with cybernetics, as we've discussed, is not necessarily, or cybernetic organisms, is not great. How does the audience know that from the reaction that you evince? when 733T is on board and you board with Ade?
I think Sharp spots her and is taken aback, like his hand moves halfway towards the phaser on
Just resting on it.
Yeah. That they gave him, and then kind of consciously moves it away. And his eyes are going like between 733T and the shuttle.
Can I suggest, Doctor, that you keep the eyes on the target rather than me? They are very quick, and your human reactions may not be enough. Keep on target.
So do either Sharp, 733T, or Ade, who's also come back on board? I think Koenig, you're probably still tinkering a little bit. Do any of the three of you have any questions you'd like to put on the table to use up these two questions that we've got from observation?
I think this is not 733T talking. Why don't we kick the question back to the GM and make him tell us what is the easiest way to unassimilate the Borg?
I think that probably, Sharp, you have some you've read the experience of the USS Enterprise crew who found a single Borg isolated from the collective, who with time and effort began to behave to de-assimilate. In the end, they called him Hugh. Hugh decided to rejoin the collective rather than endanger the Enterprise. So that would suggest that you need to isolate not just this group from the collective, but one of them from the collective of 7.
Mm-hmm. So we need.
So that's the answer to one question.
Yeah.
Let's get Koenig in here. He's got a sound scientific mind.
Koenig, are you content to arrive
very
at
good
that
at
point?
breaking down complex problems to their minutiae.
Can I just throw out there that Ade, looking over it, whistles, he sees the Borg and goes, Captain Picard gave a speech at the Academy after the Locutus incident, and you couldn't even tell that he had all those bits and pieces in him. It's not at all like 733. Oh, sorry, sir.
That's fine. And how do you know that I'm not human under here?
Oh, I'm sure you're human under there, inside of there. I'm not quite sure how it works, but yeah, 100% as she stays
No
very
offense
steadily on the other side of the ship.
This is existentially fascinating. However, Dr. Sharp, I would like you to do a quick biomass assessment on each of these Borgs and get a relative sense of ratio of Borg implant to human physiology and the likelihood for each of them of what disabling their Borg systems would do. I can imagine that for some of them, it's not something we can do easily. We know that with 733T, it was more feasible to leave some of the materials there. So we need an assessment on that. I have an idea, 733T.
Far away.
Right now, you are connected up partially to their collective.
I can communicate non-verbally with these Borg.
I'm wondering if we could temporarily put them in power down sleep mode and then perhaps get hollow emitters in here and control their environment. Use that to make them more quiescent. Give them something that they know how to work with, and give them effectively busy work while we solve this problem.
Excellent idea. An improved hollow simulation here could fool their implants. We could recreate the transmitter they were building, and they can continue to build that. Definitely, I think that is a sound idea.
I will tell you now, the difficulty of doing that in the back of the Aeroshuttle will be significantly greater than doing that on the holodeck or one of the holodecks.
Let me offer a in-between, which is that we get the emitters set up in here in the flight bay.
Use the hangar.
Use the hangar rather than just the craft.
Okay, I'll give that a go. So
I will say the other situation that we have to deal with now is we need to get this handled or get out of here before the Tzenkethi
appears.
Well, that and the Tzenkethi. Well, here's the problem is we don't know what has happened to the Tzenkethi. The Tzenkethi encountered the Borg, but we don't know what's going on with them.
They are definitely a problem.
can I just say that is too good a segue for me not to compel 733T's freed Borg aspect. I would be prepared to give you a fate point or force you to buy it off for you to receive a message that says, this is 8 of 8 seeking contact with the collective.
Yeah, I'll take a fate point for that.
Because you did pick up initially whispers 1 of 8, 2 of 8, 3 of 8, 4 of 8, up to 8 of 8, but there are only 7 Borg on this ship in the Aeroshuttle. There are only 7 on the moon.
There is a stray Borg, I believe.
Wait, what?
Where?
8 Borg originally were on whatever mission the Borg were on. I only count 7 Borg here, and I do not believe we left an additional Borg on the moon. Whatever the other Borg is, or wherever it is still continuing to transmit. We need to find that Borg.
I think we probably know where that Borg is.
Dun dun dun.
At that point, I think that is the point where we are going to take our first commercial break, because why wouldn't you at that point? It is 3 minutes to the hour. I'm going to suggest we're back in our seats at 5 past the hour. See you then. We cut back moments after Koenig says, I think we know where that one is. And I think we're all, the audience is on the edge of their seats to know what Koenig thinks he knows.
Given that we know that they can't survive in full vacuum, and there are no other planets that have atmospheres that are compatible with organic or even mixed inorganic organic life here, it seems very likely that they are down on the colony world.
Gemulan 5. Does this get communicated up to the captain? Because I'm just curious what's happening on the bridge. Because while our senior science officer, our chief of ops, our chief medical officer are all down here.
I was in charge of the away team, but I'm not in charge of other things. So I do think 733T outranks me, and I will say, I will turn to you, Paul, and I say, this is above my pay grade. You should probably contact the captain, but You are the senior officer present at this moment. You're
Oh,
muted
you are muted
as well.
I agree. I believe this is an issue for the captain to decide how we isolate the 8th Borg on the planet. A good call. And I will contact the captain.
Cut to the bridge, where Vassal is at the helm, our executive officer. I'm guessing Chief Chew is running ops, the ops station, and Tavalic, our Andorian acting security chief, is running tactical. I don't think we've got anyone as a backup character for the science station, but let's leave that as an open possibility at this point. Some member of the crew we've not met yet is on science. So Vassal, this message comes through to the bridge. What's the conversation between you and Captain Prell?
I think Captain Prowl hears that and lets out a worried and exasperated sigh and says, "Great, that's just what we need. A whole group of assimilated Tzenkethi. You seen the size of those things? That could be we'll never get those Bajorans off the ship if they're turned." And Vassal, Captain, I recommend that we take in the Montgomery for a low-level scan of the planet's surface, using the frequencies that we have picked, the subspace frequencies that we have picked up from our captive. Perhaps we can identify the missing 1 of 8.
8 of 8 is we're looking for 8 of 8. So yeah, let's have you maneuver down Vassal just for fun. I think difficulty is your intention here to awe the Tzenkethi? I think we've tried that because we've eroded their stubbornness already. Is this another effort at that? As well as an opportunity to scan?
No, I think this is purely a opportunity to scan. I think he's not in any way interested in the. But I think he will turn to the extra, let's say another Vulcan extra who is on the comm station, and say, begin broadcasting the message on all the Tzenkethi frequencies that there is a Borg drone loose upon the planet's colony, and all sentients are in high danger of assimilation.
And I think probably a slightly broken message comes back from the Tzenkethi on the surface. You are picking up, I think I said that there were maybe 15 or 20 of them, not all of them in the firing line, so to speak, in terms of the perimeter of the camp. And you're getting life signs for most of them, but there is certainly among them one aberrant life sign that is showing different readouts than any other. We don't have a character on the bridge to run science station, so Vassal, I let you roll +3 for the science officer who's there against a difficulty of 3.
Okay. Would you like to roll that for me, just because of my?
Oh yes, sorry, your bandwidth
Yeah.
issues. Yeah, let me do that.
It's more my screen space issues. It's
Yeah.
really annoying to try and flick back and forwards. Yeah.
So that's +3. So that's success by 3. So success with style. So I think not only is the science station able to pin down 8 of 8 as broadcasting from the middle of the Tzenkethi cap, but also to pick up a subspace broadcast that says, this is the collective 8 of 8. We have received your signal. And I'm just going to mark on the Borg signal strength, which is a 4-part clock. I've just marked the first 2 segments. Okay. And I think 733T will cut to you, and there is that kind of shock of a subspace communication from the collective, not that little collective you have locked away in the Aeroshuttle. Vassal, sorry, I interrupted.
I think he's just going to turn to the captain and say, "Captain, this is no longer a transport mission. This is a rescue mission. We need to get the Tzenkethi off planet and away from the Borg. The Borg are coming."
I wish it wasn't the case, but I think you're right, number one. I need you to go down there and negotiate with them. They need to understand the danger they're in.
Yes,
select
sir.
your away team.
Thank you, sir. I'll leave the Bajorans to you. And he has a wry smile as he leaves the ship.
And that, of course, is when the yeoman serving the captain comes up and says, "Captain, the Vedek would like a word." And Prel. Let's go back to the Aeroshuttle. So the plan was you had a question, which was you wanted Sharp to work out which of these had the lowest kind of volume of implants. Yeah. We've got 2 questions in hand. I'll give you an answer to that. It is 5 of 8 would be the easiest subject for surgery on the basis of your tricorder scans, Sharp. And then the suggestion was that you wanted to try and create an environment in the Aeroshuttle Bay that somehow would make them believe that they were back on the planet working on their communications. Did I get that right? Okay. So Sharp, you have identified one of them that you think you had a reasonable, I mean, this is not something that you've practiced. There is an easier one to remove the implants from. But you really would need the full facilities of sick bay, of sick bay 1, the main sick bay.
Mm-hmm.
Is that something you want to embark upon?
Well, I think my thinking right now is that these Borg are effectively prisoners of war. Even though they are kind of they've been assimilated into the collective, so we're kind of liberating them, but we also have to there are multiple ethical aspects to this.
I think that's a self-compel on idealistic human chief medical officer. So I think give yourself a fate point.
Cool.
Which means that I think you are obliged to offer them all treatment that you would offer a member of Starfleet or anybody else.
Absolutely. One thing I was going to bring up before, and I'm not sure how you've established this. The only thing I remember about this is from Voyager, where 709 had needed this recharge pod or something. Is that how it works for 733T, for example? Yeah, cool.
But yeah, half and half. Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, we have that technology aboard.
Cool. So I think Sharp will turn to 733T as the engineering chief engineer. If we are to keep these Borg here and try to de-assimilate them, we need to have facilities for them to keep them alive as they start to power down. But yes, this number 5, I think, is the one we could try to remove more permanently from the collective, but we will need some sort of protection to transport them. We need to go to sick bay 1, and we can't bring a fully powered up Borg there. They'll assimilate the station.
Oh, you are muted.
Then I believe we need to drain them of power.
If we do that without killing them,
We could reduce them to a near-death state. You are going to
Consider it
operate on it.
sedation, Dr. Sharp.
well, if we can try. And they are right now. They're contained in the shuttle, right?
Yes.
Yes.
I can program up these hollow emitters to create a facsimile of the like sleep bays, the recharge bays, the things we can get them set into, and we can use that to drain off the energy.
As long as they can't connect to the hollow transmitters.
That's what we're working on. Yes, sir. Don't tell you how to remove an organ.
I just want to make sure that we're taking every precaution to protect the ship.
I understand, sir.
So Keenek, I think that this is not something that is in the engineering handbook. So this is about creating from principles here.
Yeah.
So I think science is the relevant issue. And tell me exactly what you want the outcome to be.
I want to set up a device which fools them into thinking they're in a Borg-like environment so that they'll go to their little sleep pods. We already have the details of that on file from Enterprise. We have that from 733T. And when they go into those, then it will drain their energy. I think this is actually two things. I think I need to set up the hollow stuff, and I think 733T needs to engineer the drain.
Yeah.
Does that seem reasonable, Paul?
And I think you're creating the advantage that will make it easier for 733T to actually make this happen.
Okay,
so I think it's create an advantage using science. Yes. So this is quite complicated. I think this is a difficulty of 4.
Okay.
Are you using rocks into replicators here?
No, because that wouldn't give me a bonus.
Okay.
Instead, I say I'm going to have to go to my lab to get this set. I'll keep in constant communication with you.
Fine. So this is lab rat that you're leveraging.
Yes.
Yeah. Say which lab you're working in, and if you succeed using SciMed to create an advantage, you gain +2 shifts of effect. So
it's essentially pulling up my lab that worked with the idea of holographic and photonic life forms, and I'm using that to patch in and build this.
Fine. Let's have you create the advantage against the difficulty of 4 using SciMed.
I have a 7 with 2 shifts of effect. Means that's with style.
Yeah, success with style. So you have created the advantage. Realistic
Borg hollow program
with 2 free invokes,
plus the one that's the boost that's still sitting on the ship.
Plus the boost that's still sitting on the ship to isolate them from the systems. Yeah. So you're busy.
I've given you all I can. 733T.
Let me cut back to Vassal, because we do need to try and, you're quite right, get the Tzenkethi off the planet. They need to understand the risk.
Yeah, and I think that the captain told Vassal to assemble the away team, and Tvilik comes jogging down the corridor after Vassal, fiddling with his phaser, and going like, I can get a whole security detail arranged, so we'll bring back those Tzenkethi on the ship one way or another. And Vassal puts a hand up and says, the Tzenkethi will not respond to more threats of force. We must convince them with good faith, in an open hand. I will be the only person going down on this away team.
went the crowd.
Yeah.
Are you certain about that, sir?
There is no point in further endangering the crew of the ship. I will convince the Tzenkethi to come back up with us and to take the beam off, and we will give them safe transport away, or I will not be returning. And you know, metagame wise, I'd love to leave it open for if anyone wants to have Tvelic and any other member of the crew disobey that and come down on their own, right? Like that's Star Trek, right? Like, yeah. But yeah, I think it's the send one person with an open hand rather than you know, come down in force and say, because I think that'll just turn into a firefight.
Okay. So we see you materialize on the planet's surface on your own. Because clearly the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few.
That's got to be the opening line, right? As he yells it out to the Tzenkethi from a safe distance. Yeah.
And the reaction is very much what we've already seen. You know, as you approach, they have some, you know, they're a military organization. They have some perimeter guards who call a halt, and then they form up, seeing you as a threat. And we know that the Universal Translator has been trying hard to improve its understanding of Tzenkethi, given their relative isolation. What's your opening line?
Visal pulls out his phaser and just throws it.
And you see, you know, these enormous guns, you know, come up over the shoulder and you know.
And he just tosses it, and it skitters to their feet. And he calls out, "You are all in danger. A great enemy is here, the Borg. They will assimilate you and everyone on. We offer you safe passage, and Starfleet will abandon its claim to the planet. If you will come with us, and we will transport you back to the Tzenkethi, to your home, to your people."
One of them, the obvious leader, what are these Borg of which you speak?
They are many. They are many. They are one. They are unstoppable. They are coming.
This is Human Federation trick. I think that you need to use insight to get some kind of leverage going here. So I think his command is 3. Well, go on.
Yeah,
if you've got a different approach.
I think that we need no tricks. We have the Montgomery, and I'll just and I'll tap my button and I'll call on Tvelic and I'll say, Tvelic, open fire on coordinates, you know, 25294. You know, and limited spread. Yeah. Yeah.
On the horizon.
And I'd like to use command instead, basically, to say this is the stick that we have, and if it was just a trick, we would do that. Yeah.
Difficulty is 3.
You could roll that for me.
Yes. Oh well.
Yes.
Yeah. Does somebody else want to do that? Because otherwise, I'll start feeling guilty.
Yeah, I'll do it.
I did this with my home group last night, and I consistently rolled 2s and 1s for the guy.
+4.
See, everyone rolls better than I do in this game, anyways. So.
Well, that is success with style. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to erode another 2 of Tzenkethi stubbornness.
Yeah.
So you have half filled the clock. This gives them pause for thought, and you know, some keep you covered, and the others fall back.
And I will say to them, are all of you there? This is how did your ship, surely they destroyed your ship. Surely the reason you are stranded on this planet is because of this threat. They are greater than the Tzenkethi, and they are greater than the Federation, and they are here.
Let me cut at that point back to 733T in the down in the shuttle in the Aeroshuttle Bay. I think you're trying to make sure that now that Koenig has set up this environment, which has, 7 Borg recharge bays around the edge of the bay. You now have to succeed in both getting them into it and rigging it up so it drains their power, it doesn't boost their power. And Sharp, I'm guessing you're still inside the shuttle, monitoring the life signs of 5 of 8. Yeah? Okay, let's go with that then 733T. I think difficulty here is probably 4. But let's see how it goes. You have realistic Borg holo program.
And what was it?
Engineering.
Yeah, I'm already at +1.
Do you want to get in? Do you want to get a free invoke on holo program to get to success with style?
Yes, I will. So we'll reduce that to realistic holo program. We've now got 1 invoke on it.
And that will not only get them into these holo bays, but will indeed drain their power very swiftly if you want to cash in the boost to just, accelerate the time it takes.
Yes, yeah, sure.
Yeah. So, very quickly they go quiescent. Dr. Sharp, how are you going to get 5 of 8 to sick bay 1 now that she is quiescent?
Strap her down on what do you call it? A gurney?
A gurney?
Yeah. And have several guards, several armed guards escorting her there.
Fine. A security team is waiting in the corridor outside. You head to up towards sick bay 1. I did wonder about the transporter, but I think Hugo just feels more comfortable with all those guards just walking around it between him and it. So yeah, you make your way up to sick bay 1 without any trouble. But I will just, because this is all taking some time, so I will just boost that Borg signal strength. 733T, you are getting both. This is 8 of 8. Sending a signal to the collective, a homing signal to the collective, and the return, a stronger signal now. This is the collective. We have received and are inbound.
So let's get a long-range scan on that signal. We want to know what's incoming and when.
Enoch, your kind of job is done down in the shuttle bay. It's probably security that ought to be down there making sure that these Borg stay where you've put them. Do you want to stay down there or head to the bridge?
I want to head to the bridge because I want to get an isolated transporter lock-on / weapons lock-on from the ship onto the 8 of 8.
Oh my. There, and I suppose that the same question applies to you, 733T. Is your work done down in the Aeroshuttle Bay?
Yes, yeah.
So both of you, appear on the bridge. Sharp is at sick bay. Vassal is on the planet, and AD apparently has gone off duty for the minute, unless you've got plans, Will.
Sorry, that broke up for a second. Sorry. What was that?
Right. We're just wondering if you've got any particular plans for AD, or whether AD can go off duty for a bit while Vassal is on the planet.
No, AD is currently the token red shirt in case anything needs to go wrong on the in that particular scene,
Okay, so AD is left in command of the Aeroshuttle Bay with a security team deployed by Tavalic. Brilliant. Tavalic is on tactical, and Koenig and 733T arrive on the bridge. Now, tell
And
me
I think
exactly.
in the turbo lift going up, I'll turn to Koenig and say, your knowledge of planetary science, how easy will it be to destroy that planet?
It is much more difficult than you would think to destroy a planet.
We've got a possible incoming Borg craft. If we remove all sentient life from the planet, I believe it would meet the criteria that we could take action against it.
I think a better choice is going to be for us to get photon torpedoes ready and launch a spread. And once we got the Tzenkethi up, we glass the area from orbit.
True, but there will still be a Borg ship in the area now.
There's no way that the Borg are going to be turning around now. Even if we blast that planet, they're going to be here to find out. What we got to leave behind is no evidence of what went on here. So that they have.
Could we not catch them in the exploding planet?
I think you are. While I have the greatest regard for your assessment of this, there are directives about the destruction of planetary systems that have not been fully scanned. Literally, that goes against General Order 1. That goes against the Prime Directive. We can't do something like that without a full assessment of this area. We can hit a marginal area and hope that we can cover it up, but we need to get moving on that.
Very well.
I step onto the bridge. So, Koenig, what's your priority here? Scan for an incoming Borg ship, or work out as precisely as you can the location of 8 of 8?
I think the latter, because I know that Vassal is down on the planet.
Okay. So I think that this is probably analyze a hazard or threat. You want to create an advantage that will make it easier to glass this area, don't you?
Yes. So
when you use the ship's computer to analyze sensor data, use computers to create an advantage. This is interesting. Against a difficulty of 2 + 2 per situation aspect. So difficulty is 2 + 2, because I think that you don't just want to find 8 of 8. You want to track 8 of 8 if 8 of 8 starts moving.
All right.
Yeah.
May I make an argument that since the ship is the character doing the action that I'm rolling for, may I use my collaboration stunt?
I mean, your cymatics...
Alternately, I will scramble a science team.
Okay,
and that's like all of us are going to work on this.
I mean, you're going to get, if you succeed, you're going to get +1 shift of effect because of your skill level. Remember, for
right.
using,
but that's a +3 to the roll in case I F up potentially.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah,
fair
I
enough.
am preparing my insurance for the screw up.
Fine.
Okay. So I'm rolling these 2 dice.
A cluster of blue-shirted science officers surround you.
So that is a -1 +3. So a minus, actually a +3.
2. So
I've got a 2 right now. So I will spend my fate point to do that collaboration to get us to a total of 5.
Fine, which gives you success. So you have created an advantage, something like tracking 8 of 8 with 1 free invoke on it. And the good news is that 8 of 8 is bang in the middle of that Tzenkethi camp and not moving at this point.
In what universe was that the good news?
Let me cut for a moment to Sharp in sickbay 1. What are we seeing? Because there's a surgical field, there's a surgical table at one end. Our EMH is there saying, "What do you want?" And aren't you young for this? And what are you wanting to do, Sharp?
Sharp is like whatever staff he has there, including the emergency medical hologram. He's ordering them around, like make sure everything is as shielded as it can be. Priority 1 is keeping the Borg sedated so that she doesn't wake up. But if she does, I want to be able to shut everything down so that she can't assimilate anything. And then we need to start working on basically removing as much of the Borg implants as she can survive without like serious issues.
The logic would be to start with any communication system.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because if you can somehow isolate her, then that will work to your advantage. So the EMH can provide you with a +1 teamwork benefit, and the rest of the team. So I think that this is a difficulty of 4. You're rolling with your medical against a difficulty of 4, but you've got +1 from the EMH, however unwilling and bad-tempered he is.
Nice. So this is like 1 positive, 1 negative die, right?
Yeah. So the red is positive, the yellow is negative.
Excellent. I'm rolling, and that's 0.
That's flat.
Which is 5 for me then with the +1.
Yeah, it is. So that's success by 1. I'm marking a little mental clock here on, how difficult this is. So I'm taking 1 off the clock. So this is a complex procedure. And we see one of those things that sit over the thorax and we see you manipulating stuff in there and making incisions and removing into little dishes bits of technology which seem to continue to kind of move very concerningly. 733T, what do we see you doing at ops on the bridge, if anything, at this point?
I don't think there's really anything threatening the ship really currently. So
okay. I wondered if you were wanting to check on, what has the book got? What has the engineering handbook got on encounters with Borg?
Well, we know the technology and the technology is superior to us. So I mean, and
adaptive.
Our ship is quite small. I mean, if that's a Borg cube, we stand 0 chance. So maybe we need to get sort of like ready to hit the pedal to the metal.
Okay, so is this about creating an advantage? Because you've talked about sharpening up the engineering team, haven't you? Using drills over the last 4 weeks. So now might be a good time to see whether that's had any effect. I think given that it's fictionally you've been doing this for weeks, I think the difficulty is just 3. It's probably command.
Okay, that sounds fine. I've got a massive amount of command. So that's -2. Oh no, that would be dead interesting if let's create an advantage for you saying engines may be ready. There we go.
I like that. Engines may be ready. Thank you. That we can all have a go at. Keenek, you've got your you've got the team tracking 8 of 8, and we know everybody else is going on. What's your next priority, Keenek, on the bridge? I mean, there may not be one.
Something just occurred to me. So we know it's not a cube coming. We have seen the size of the smaller Borg ships, right?
Yeah.
Are those in atmosphere ships? I can't remember. Do they land or they transport down?
I think they transport down. I don't think we've got any canon examples of significant Borg ships going into atmosphere. I mean, they could probably crash land and survive because, it's just the nature of the beast, but
I want to analyze if the Tzenkethi still have functional transporters on that ship that got downed.
okay, let's have you conduct a sensor scan. Yeah. So I think this is, it's in the debris of the Tzenkethi. I think difficulty is just 2.
Okay. So 3 plus 3. I'm at a 0 right now. You said difficulty is a 2?
Yeah.
So I've got 2 choices.
Fail, or the GM may offer you success at a minor narrative cost.
May I offer you the minor narrative cost?
Do you want to offer me a cost?
Yeah.
Go on.
I think that, yes, the transporters are functional, but I would have to go down there to get them in shape.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm going to call over to 733T and I will say, I have an idea on a variation of the plan that you suggested.
Let's do it.
I'm going to need your help. We need to rig up all of the photon torpedoes on the ship. We need to transport them all down to the planet. And we need to set the transporters such that when the Borg arrive, we beam all of the photon torpedoes into the Borg ship.
Yep.
We'll be out of here. That'll go off automatically. There'll be no signs of us. They can't transmit any information back.
Do it.
So this is to create the impression that these torpedoes have been transported from the planetary surface.
Yes. And we're already gone, so that the Borg don't see us. That's the most important thing right now, is keeping our presence cloaked from the Borg.
Okay. Let's cut back to Vassal on the planet. The Tzenkethi have had their conversation after you demonstrated the big stick. And they come back to further conversation. What's your approach now, Vassal?
Well, I was wondering, the Borg signal is coming from 8 of 8 is coming from within the Tzenkethi encampment, right? And I was wondering if this might be. Yeah, I was wondering if this might be the return to the thing might be, them discussing with each other and then gesturing me forward and taking Vassal over towards whatever it is that they've got in their encampment that they're like, is this Borg or something,
Yeah. I'm happy for that to happen. So we cut back to you with them gesturing you forward, but with 4 of these 11, 12 foot high, and guns track you as you move into the camp. And there in the middle of the camp, tied down with great cables, is an assimilated Tzenkethi.
And I will, Vassal will look at them and say, it's too late. It's already spoken to the collective. More are coming.
We destroyed ship.
No, there are always more.
I think you're still going to have to erode their basic stubbornness here, because we're halfway around that clock of 6.
Yeah.
How are you going to convince them that this is Borg? What have you got to show them? Because they're pretty concrete in terms of their view of the world.
I will pull out a data pad from, I think I came down in the sort of Star Trek cloak with the satchel over the side, right? And I'll pull out from the data pad, and all the energy weapons power up as I pull this pad out. I'll just raise up a hand, and I will press a button, and it will portray, the Battle of Wolf 359. Comes out on a hologram, right? And it's just got all the dots of the hundreds of Starfleet vessels that arrived there. And then just the one singular Borg cube coming into, and then just winking, the lights winking out one by one as it goes across.
I mean, that is quite a potent image, I think.
Yeah.
Because while these particular Tzenkethi may not know about the Borg, they may well know about conflicts with the Federation, which they have not come off well on. So this does, I think this gives you the leverage to roll command again, or are you going for insight this time?
I still think it's command in terms of this is an ultimatum rather than a like you will die if you and I point to the Tzenkethi and I'd say everyone, every time they kill one of you, they make one of them, they grow, they multiply, and they will consume you and all of the galaxy, all of the quadrant.
Difficulty, I think, now is only 2 with all that leverage.
Paul, you rolled hot for me last time. Would you like to roll for me again, please? Do as good a job of it as you did last time, please.
Well, flat. So,
yeah.
I mean,
it was only 2, so you should have made that.
Yeah.
So
but do we have any
1.
free aspects on the?
I'm not sure we've got much on this on the Tzenkethi at the minute.
We don't have any aspects of Tzenkethi. We have a tracking 8 of 8, don't we? That's an aspect.
Yeah.
I don't know if that works really. I'll spend a fate point on what do I got in my things I wrote down on a piece of paper, but I don't have to keep going back and forth between it. I'll go with I'll go with Starfleet is more than ships. I think as the fate aspect that I'll spend a point on to boost that, and I think that Vasal's argument is that Starfleet is ships, and the Tzenkethi probably perceive us mostly through our great technology and everything, right? But he's going to put a hand out and he's going to say that Starfleet, the Federation, does not want to see the Tzenkethi consumed by the Borg. It does not want to see your people assimilated. We have our differences, but together against the Borg, we must be united.
And that turns a success by 1 into success by 3, I think, which fills up the rest of the Tzenkethi stubbornness clock. The Tzenkethi are prepared through gritted teeth to believe that this is a sufficient risk. And they are even prepared to leave their comrade, who they still think of as Tzenkethi, on the planet if you say that he is diseased.
Yeah, I mean, I almost wish I'd failed that to have the Tzenkethi Borg drone suddenly rip itself free, right, and begin laying havoc to the whole thing. Don't suppose, but anyways, yeah, I think that with a heavy heart, Vasal will say there is I think he'll say like we can only a few are ever saved from the Borg. but they are coming now, and they are coming. We must leave now. We must leave your member behind. They're as good as dead now.
And I think that's a good segue for me to fill the Borg signal strength clock. And for on the bridge of the Montgomery, for perhaps Koenig or another science officer to say, sir, I have a transwarp conduit opening. Reactions on the bridge, 733T?
I'll turn to Keating and said, we better get that task done quickly.
You get the torpedoes ready. I'll beam down to the planet. And I'll turn to our security person. And I said, Captain, with your permission, security with me?
What have you got in mind? Because you've not shared this with the captain yet, have you?
I think we would have thrown him, as this conversation is going on, thrown the brief outline of what we're going to do.
Okay. So let me. I do need you before you go, though. I just need you to.
The alternative, Captain, is that we just hit warp and get out of here, and potentially leave the Borg operating in system.
No, that's not going to happen. What I need you to do. What I need you to do is I need you to scan the system so I know how far away this conduit opens. So scan, conduct a sensor scan key.
Alan's back.
That was very odd.
Yeah.
That was very strange. I don't know quite what happened then, but you all
Borg
disappeared.
signal interference.
It is, yeah. So resistance is futile. So I need you to roll for roll a sensor scan so I can work out how far away this thing is.
Okay. So that's
difficulty
3.
is only 2. So it's sensors versus 2.
I can assist if you need it.
Okay. So that'll be 2, 3, plus another 3 is a 6, difficulty 2, so we make it by 4.
Success with style. So that goes like a top. This comes in at the edge of the system. So I'm just going to move up the wherever I've lost it to, the tactical display, and I'm going to put this Borg right out on the edge of the system. And the way this works is that each of you has an action you can take as it closes with the position of the Monty in orbit. So it's about priorities now. Is this Koenig who's going to deal with these photon torpedoes, or what?
So here's my thought of situational breakup, and then Vasal. This is Vasal gets the Tzenkethi to the ship. 733T gets the photon torpedoes ready. I think security goes with me down to the planet to get the sort of transporter booby trap set. And it may well be that, given that our chief medical officer has the most contact with the Borg right now, that he may be in the best position to kind of help scramble or subdue any signals that are going back and forth.
I think the difficulty, Dr. Sharp, is your elbow deep in a Borg. So the question is, what's Hugo Sharp's priority here? To help Koenig by communicating anything he's picking up from the pieces of implant he's removing, or saving 5 of 8's life?
Oof. think he will continue working on 5 of 8 and direct the. Do that? Probably not. No, the higher priority here is to keep everyone alive. So I think he will direct the emergency medical hologram to just keep 5 of 8 alive, not continue the procedure. Just keep her alive while he tries to use this communication equipment that they extracted to do what needs to be done with this.
Okay, I think that's an engineering task, Doctor.
Sounds like it.
I'm a doctor, damn it. I think difficulty here is 3.
Yeah.
So you are rolling the dice +1 versus a difficulty of 3 to try to come up with an advantage. Borg comms wavelength or something similar.
Yeah, and I do not have any stunts that help, so have to roll. No, close enough. Oof, that's -3 on the dice.
So that's -5 all told.
Okay.
Is there any way to get that back?
I would need 3 aspects, right? In a
Or
crisis,
success at a major narrative cost?
that's fun, actually.
You can also take stress, and you can also, to bump yourself up, and of course, if you spend an aspect, you can always try a reroll.
Oh, I can do that. Yeah, reroll seems fine.
What could be worse than a -3?
Sorry?
What could be worse than a -3?
Well, a -4 or -5, but you know. So in a crisis, a good shape works like an ER. That seems like something that could work here.
It
So
does.
Spend a fate point for that, right? To reroll.
Get a reroll.
Let's see what that gets me. Now it's just a -2 on the dice.
So that's -1 versus a difficulty of 3 of 2 is -3. You are short, all told.
Short 3. So what can I use stress for? Because that's not something I'm.
You can burn stress for effort. So you can stress yourself to improve things. So if you mark 3 stress, that would get you to a tie. If you mark 4 stress, that would get you to success. I can't remember how much stress you've got. You do have some consequences you can start.
I have 4 stress.
Well, you could mark all 4 if you wanted to.
You're only taken out once you can't absorb damage.
Exactly. You've got consequences to play with.
And they reset at the end of the scene.
Okay, the consequences come later. Sorry, and one consequence. Sorry, I'm not familiar with this overly. So consequences are equal to stress in the value, or?
So yeah, so you can absorb 2 stress using a minor consequence. The difficulty with consequences is that they last longer than it takes for stress to recover.
Cool.
So typically you would spend stress and then save consequences for later.
Yeah. Then I'll
just for when the Borg run riot in sick bay.
Yeah,
that's when you'll need those consequences.
I'll spend those 4 stress that were needed to get me to success.
To success. So we have
basically
Borg
Sharp is running himself ragged, trying to do everything at once, trying to direct the staff and yeah.
Doctor, I can keep this subject alive, but I thought we were trying for more than that, says the EMH.
Later, I need to keep everyone alive.
And I think given it's 2 minutes past the hour, I'm going to suggest we take a very brief 3-minute break and we just get back in our seats for 5 past. Yeah? Okay, see you then. Art. We come back, I think, from our commercial break. With unless you've got any ideas alternative to this, Koenig, I think you're, we see you in the vicinity of the Tzenkethi wreck.
I am making my way. I'm assuming Tvilic is with me, and I will say, Tvilic, just keep an eye on that chained down Borg.
Oh, the wreck is some distance away.
Okay, from there.
So that's not a problem.
Yeah, so
they've trekked away from that.
Okay, then I am getting into here, and I am trying to rig up the transporters with a signal. And I will say, Tvilic, you know some engineering. Come here and help me.
I'm going to spend a fate point to invoke battle-hardened human engineering officer freed from the Borg, because that's my go-to. There's a Borg thing, to create the fact that there is the remains of a Borg in the wreckage. Koenig.
Yeah.
Just for fun.
All right.
Whether this was the Borg that beamed aboard the ship and infected the Tzenkethi, I don't know. But they are in what's left of the Tzenkethi transporter room.
So is the situation going to be that we have to deal with it
yes.
First? Okay. Then in that case, Tvilic, you have the lead and I will assist.
Who wants to play Tvilic at this point? Anders, do you fancy taking on our Andorian security officer? Just for a change of pace?
Sure. I can do that.
So the situation is that you've made your way through the wreckage. It looks like that the engineering section was jettisoned and the warp core went off over there. You're in the habitation section, and you've made your way to the transporter room. And there, is a bisected, the upper torso of a Borg, assimilated somebody. What do you do, Ensign Tvilic?
So I assume Koenig is going to work on the transport, right? So I think just like pull my face around and keep my eyes on the Borg at all times.
And of course the Borg, one eye just goes bzzz, and
oh yeah, I will just shoot to kill.
Resistance is futile. You will be assimilated. So yes, let's have you. It is security. So and Tvilic has security of 4. Difficulty is, this is a sitting duck in theory at least. So difficulty is just 2.
Yeah, in theory. And I'm rolling better now. So that's a +2 on the dice. So that's a 6 against the 2.
So that's a whole 4. And you hit it, and it the way that Borg respond to hits is that there's that kind of, and then resistance is futile. And I'm going to spend a fate point to have its regenerative nanites restore 2 of those hits. Koenig, it's moving across the transporter room. Tvilic is backing off, firing at intervals. What do we see you doing, Koenig?
I am just getting this transporter put back together. I am focused in on this part of the room. the rest of the room has faded out for me. This is just what I am doing.
I think I am going to compel. You can't live if you don't survive. It is quite difficult to block out. Resistance is futile. You will be assimilated. Do you want to take that and the -2 it'll apply on this, or do you want to buy it off?
I'll buy it off with my last fate point.
Oh my. Koenig going to the edge here. So Koenig, fine. I think difficulty is 4 because it's foreign technology and I think it's an engineering task.
Yeah.
Oh, I think that is a total of -4.
So, well, 3 -3, right? +3 is a 0. So I'm at 0 right now, and the difficulty was
4. 2 + 2 for unfamiliar technology. This could be a time to push yourself, couldn't it?
Yeah, I think I take a hit from the blast from that. I'm going to mark a moderate and spend a stress.
Oh, wow.
To get myself to a 5 over the difficulty 4 to get this rigged up.
I will remind you that if you create a consequence, I get a free invoke on it. So you're sure you want to go for a consequence and not just soak up the stress?
Well, let's do this. Let's do 3 stress and take a mild, because that's a smaller thing.
Yeah, okay. So I've got a free invoke on the fact that you are shaken, I think, by what's going on there. Let's cut back to the bridge. 733T, are you doing anything? Because I'm advancing the Borg cube from the outer system to among the outer planets now. What, if any, preparation are you making?
Yeah, let's beam these torpedoes.
Until Koenig has finished his task down there.
Okay, let's go to the torpedo room and prepare some.
Yeah, essentially, you need to get the torpedoes down here. I'm getting the things rigged up.
Yeah, so let's prepare them. I don't know, anti-tamper or something.
Okay. No, I mean, I'll let you just beam them down. Sorry, I misunderstood that you don't need the pad down there. You can just beam them down. I'm not going to make that difficult for you unless you want it to be difficult.
No.
Okay. So, is this literally all of the Montgomery's photon torpedoes?
Yeah, we want a big explosion.
Fine. Okay. So you are beaming them down. You're beaming them from, the armory to the cargo transporter, from the cargo transporter down to the wreck. Vassal, you're back. Where are you going to keep the Tzenkethi? Because I'm conscious that Cargo Bay 1 is currently being used to house a bunch of Bajorans. And just across the corridor is Cargo Bay 2.
I mean, it's got to be there, right? As the Bajoran, the Videk, steps out into the corridor as Vassal steps out of Cargo Bay 2, where the things are, and behind him is towering Tzenkethi as the Videk is going, what is the meaning of this? By the prophets, the vile Par race would show more respect to the Bajorans than Starfleet is, and then there's Tzenkethi just looming shadow over them.
I think that adds another one to the Bajoran patience clock, so it's now sitting at 5 of 6.
Well, I'm happy to add another one to it as Vassal just turns and spits and spits on the floor, utters a Bajoran epithet, and says, there is no time for this. and just races up the corridor, running towards the bridge.
And I'm going to mark the 6th one on the basis of that. And the Vedic turns back to his followers and said, they've taken the Tzenkethi from the planet. Now is the time.
Because I'm also imagining that these could be some, hidden beneath those robes could be anything, right? The Bajorans had a long history of guerrilla warfare and everything.
Absolutely,
right? So, yeah,
absolutely. Who knows, eh? I'm going to move the Borg to the asteroid belt from the outer planets. I'm guessing, Keenek, that your science team are keeping sensors as passive as possible at this point, not to draw attention to yourselves. Pavilic, Anders, you're on, the resistance is futile. Backing off, sooner or later, you're going to hit that back wall, Pavilic. So, more of the same?
Yeah, I think like my main objective is just keeping it moving away from Keenek so that he can do his work.
Drawing it away. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Okay. So go ahead. Let's have you use security to, again, target is 2. It is a sitting duck.
Yeah, that's fair. That's a 0.
Yeah, that's a tie all told, isn't it? You've got plenty of fate points at work here.
Yeah, I think just Igor and Doran acting security chief should work, right?
Yeah. So spend a fate point, and that becomes 2 hits on it. And again, it's adaptive shields. You're wearing them down. I'm not going to spend a fate point on that, just in case the Borg do get to you. Vassal, back to the bridge.
Yeah. I mean, Aday's in the is keeping an eye on the thing. We need a pilot in the ship. He rushes back. He's back in the pilot's seat the next time we see him, I think. And he's going to be 7. He's looks over at 733T and says, we won't be able. We need to keep the ship in this orbital alignment if your plan's going to work. We're running out of time.
And Krell says, number 1, I think it might be time. Red alert, please.
Yeah, obviously the ship immediately goes to red alert the second the captain says red alert, right? So yeah. I don't think there's any. I think the plan revolves around what Keenek. We're in a holding.
I think it is.
Pattern,
we are.
There's a clock.
So unless
Keenek,
else...
everything's on. I'm going to. That's going to come down the comm badge, right? As in the background, there's a and Tvelic like yelping as it advances towards him, and it's just over the comm to Keenek, his Vassal's voice. Not to rush you, Lieutenant Keenek, but we are running out of time.
Well, Keenek.
We've completed the task. I mean, I've successfully completed it. I will say 2 to beam up.
And I think the science team come through to you, Keenek. 8 of 8 is on the move. And then back to the Monty, where, because that's the way this works, you step onto the bridge. So the trap is set, Keenek, unless you've got something else to tell me.
The trap is set. We need to leave orbit, Captain.
What do you do on the bridge when so this is the shuttle bay. The Vedic says that you've okayed a shuttle launch. Number 1, what exchange do you have with Prell?
I mean, I think it would just be if all they're saying is the captain's okay to shuttle launch. I would just say, Restrain the Vedic, return them to their quarters. We are in full emergency stations, Ensign.
And then you hear over the comms, "Oh, sir, they are armed."
A struggle and a noise, maybe, right, and then cut off, right?
Yeah.
I would. I don't know. Can I invoke the aspect that I would be happy for the Bajorans to successfully steal a shuttle and leave the ship, basically?
I will say to the Captain, we cannot allow the Bajorans to be assimilated by the Borg. The information that they have about about the systems, about the populations, about everything is
the wormhole.
The wormhole.
So I think the captain says, yes, I wish I didn't agree with you, Koenig. Tavilik, who's also come back to the bridge, of course, restrain that shuttle with a tractor beam. Now, Anders, if you scroll down, you will find that you can. Oh no, it's engineering, I think, isn't it? I can't remember where did I put tractor beams.
And under con.
Oh, I don't know. No. Let's treat it as a weapons attack. I thought I had a move for it, but obviously I've either written it and deleted it or never wrote it. So
no, it's under phasers and tractor beam. It says it on the ship.
Thank you. I thought it was there somewhere. Okay. Use weapons to attack. Yes. Right. So 2 plus target structure. I think it's a small target. So I think that you can get a target lock to Vilik, which is Anders at the moment, by rolling security versus just 2.
Okay, I will roll. We'll see how that.
And while you're doing that, I will move the Borg to the inner system.
I get boxcars, so that's 0. And what was I'm kind of lost on where I should be looking right now.
Oh, I'm sorry. If you go down to row 55 under Tavilik, you've got targeting lock. Yeah. So basically, you just need to exceed 2 to get a tractor lock on them.
Okay.
So your security is 4, 0 on the dice. So you've succeeded by 2. And as you know, what does that look like, Tavilik, Anders? As you know, as the shuttle kind of goes to leave from the shuttle bay at the back of the Montgomery, what do we see?
I think Tavilik has just rushed over to his station. He's pushing the buttons, and the shuttle is leaving, but the tractor beam catches it just as it's starting to accelerate, and just holds it, and then slowly starts to pull it back in.
And the Vedic appears on the main screen saying, "You have no right to do this, Captain. We have been granted this planet. You've removed the Tzenkethi. There is no reason for us to not be allowed to land."
And I think Vassal will just say, Vedic, tell your people to hold on, and entering what hit permission to hit warp speed, sir.
Engage.
Yeah, as the red light of the Borg cube comes going in closer, right?
Yeah.
We'll point it to warp. Engines may be ready.
And then I think we see, well, what do we see? This is a 733T and a Koenig plan really at work here. So 733T, what do we see as the cube goes into orbit over the planet? and we see the freed 8 of 8 kind of looking up this assimilated Tzenkethi. What do we see first? Oh, you are muted.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
I think we see a transporter lock on him, and then sort of a rapid transporter fire of all the torpedoes from where Koenig was, sort of follow him up on his beam trail.
Yeah. So that they see the beam up of their personnel,
which they have to lower shields for, of course.
Yeah. And then that is followed up by a full salvo of photon torpedoes toward transporting in.
And there is a tab with Borg Scout Probe. It's a kind of blunt rectangle with some edges on it. It's probably as wide as the Montgomery is long, to give you some sense of scale. And just, what do we see at the point when those, let's cut on board the probe. What do we see on board Vassal when these photon torpedoes begin to materialize in the center of the cube of the probe?
It's the big sort of forbidding inhuman architecture of a Borg ship, right? With lots of drones and things, them working around, and the Tzenkethi one, it teleports in with that green energy of the teleportation thing, and then all around the ship at different positions all over it, just like at the same time, it materializes the big heavy cylinders of the photon torpedoes, and they all begin to flash with a blue, like an increasing blue light as they begin to beep, 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 beep. And you see the Borg suddenly stop from their motions, turn, begin to walk towards the thing, and then there's a white.
Fine. And I suppose that the epilogue for this is probably all the senior staff in the briefing room, because the discussion you have to have is, you have succeeded, Dr. Sharp, in removing a significant number of implants from 5 of 8. But the question is, what about the others? Now, they were all much more embodied with implants than 5 of 8. The chances of successful surgery in their case is very low. So my question, the captain's question, is, what are we going to do with the other Borg? And he kind of looks at 733T first, because you have skin in the game.
Can I suggest, Captain, that we leave them in the drained state and we transport them to a Starfleet research facility where further attempts to rehumanize them can happen?
And rarely does Captain Prell show much pleasure, but his eyes light up and he smiles. And then we cut to Commander Latal on screen saying, "You want to bring what to my outpost?" And that's where we'll cut that episode, I think. So a quick stars and wishes would be nice. There's my stars, there's my wishes, just to debrief on that. So let me start with Will. Any stars, any wishes?
I enjoy our new medical officer, and I enjoyed having a tense surgery of my wish would be that you use your fate points to invoke some aspects on like the Borg and stuff, to have had the cargo bay of drones put us in a real, they're all activating, or the drone is going to get up off the table and start grab a nurse or something, some real escalation and peril, because I think that we skirted a lot of the time on the edge of peril throughout the whole thing.
Fair point.
And I think that like the nature of Star Trek episodes is generally that like, you know, I think it's a player thing, right? Is that you optimize everything that you do, but the nature of the drama is that it doesn't matter what you do, you know, like, and
Yeah.
often, you know, when we go into surgery, they say that like we've taken all precautions. There's no way the Borg is going to get up. Oh God, it looks like we didn't know about this thing that the Borg can do, kind of stuff, you know. So yeah, that would be my wish, would be for some expendable crew members, shall we say, getting ganked, or the Bajorans turning out to be, you know, hidden extremist sects that have rigged explosives and are going to threaten the ship or stuff like that. I want real, you know, it going through the roof no matter what we do, basically.
Okay. Paul, any stars, any wishes?
Yeah, I liked Anders's new MO. You know, jumped right into it and picking up the spare character there. You know, I liked Will's stuff on the surface, and I loved Lowell's torpedo implosion plan. I liked that. Yeah, just you know, a bit more of the same, always good.
Okay. Anders, early days, but any stars, any wishes?
Yeah. Stars for being patient with me as I learn the ins and outs here. I have played Fate before, but not that was, I think, a more scaled back version. There's a lot more moving parts here, which is fun. But it will take me some time to get up to speed. But yeah, I liked having that brief interaction with Faye, and I think you did a great job of keeping us all in the action, even when we were like at very different situations doing very different things. So yeah.
Any wishes? Anything you want to see for Hugo up ahead?
No, just see how everything fits together, and what's up with this board.
Okay. And finally, Lowell, any stars, any wishes?
Yeah, I enjoyed this. It was a nice play off of the last bit. Like, and I do agree a little bit with Will, but I also think because we had two different clocks going on top of the Borg that we had there, I think that it would have been challenging to have resolved everything if the Borg stuff on the ship had been a significant peril. It would have required us, like, taking the Vedic out, or taking the Tzenkethi out, or taking the Borg ship coming as an issue out, just in terms of balance. But I enjoyed what we did. Like I like the Tzenkethi. I'm glad you had the Tzenkethi Borg. I liked having Vassal going down to the planet. I liked that right away we got some of those existential questions for Hugo with the arrival of this, and the real medical, ethical questions, which are so classically Star Trek. And there was a moment when I said, I have a plan, and Paul went, let's do that. And I loved that moment. So yeah, I enjoyed it. I would like to maybe, I still haven't played a secondary character, so I might make up a secondary character next time. I've got a couple of ideas depending on things. Like, it would be interesting to have a contact specialist or something like that on board.
Is that a connected wish for some first or early contact, or maybe second contact?
I would like, I wouldn't mind a mission that involves some interaction, investigation, and diplomacy, like those kinds of interesting things. We've had a lot of action stuff. I wouldn't mind a classic, oh, we've got this problem that we have to figure out a lateral thinking solution to. You know, it could be a diplomatic thing. It'd be nice if it was a plague, to give Hugo something to echo off of, and there's a lot of potential there.
Fine. I think I've got something scribbled down on that. Stars from me. Your imagination and creativity in nixing my Borg. You did far too good a job of messing with my Borg. I was fairly convinced once you got him on ship that we'd have some fictional positioning which would allow him to run riot. But you nailed him down very precisely, folks. So c'est la vie. I was slightly disappointed you ran from the probe. I thought that we could have had a bit of fronting off against the Borg, but c'est la vie. My wish is. Oh, go on.
I was just going to say I'd like to give a star for the fact that we did run away from the probe, because I like the idea of that we this was effectively a mission failure as far as Starfleet's concerned, right? Yeah, and that no one, I think that star system, that planet is effectively like now on the collective's radar, right? So and the Bajorans aren't going to be happy. No matter what happened, and Starfleet's not going to be happy.
Neither the dissidents nor the Orthodox, because what are you going to do with these people now? So anyway, that was great. Thank you. I'm going to end the recording there. First of all, is it okay if I post this?
Yep.
Thank you. Because on the Open Hearth, viewers, we never assume that. So I'll end the recording now.